With the series revolves around mysteries, it's no surprise they would rely on the art of foreshadowing in its theme song, like the opening. Right now I'm going to break down every notable scenes from Classroom of the Elite Season 2 opening theme. Without further delay, the TV static transitions to the next frames showing three places: the classroom, library, and swimming pool. Linking them with the season, they are the major settings where the show takes place. A classroom where the exams set place, the library where studies and Ayano meeting Hiyori happens, and the swimming pool, which I don't see any direct reference, but it's pretty much related to sports, so it's probably referring to the sports festival. The shining light dips the frame and then it changes into the girl characters in the series along with butterflies in sequence. There is Suzune, Haruka, Airi, Hiyori, Arisu, Ichinose, and lastly, two different frames of Kei. The butterflies symbolize their hope, will, and ambition towards something. Horikita's position somewhat fits the camera, and the butterflies near her are significantly focused, hinting that she has just a decent relationship with Ayanokoji. Nothing special, and her ambition, namely to reach Class A, is great. Haruka comes next, a member of Ayano's studying group, and they start hanging out together afterward. We can see that they are studying together with the group several times this season. The butterflies hint that though not as ambitious as Suzune, she has the determination and effort worth praising. Her academic abilities are also somewhat above average in certain subjects, proving her to be a diligent person. Sakura Airi is someone with not a remarkable trait, though she tries hard enough to get Ayano's attention. Ayano saving her from the stalker in season 1 starts the crush she's having on him, and he does give her a handful of help and advice as well, shaping her to feel attached to him, which is probably a part of her ambition as well, enough to make her join the group. Hence their relationship advances as they spend time together throughout the series. Hiyori is a mysteriously new person in his life, yet able to give a good impression to some degree. They seemingly have a common interest in books, which makes Hiyori feel enthusiastic about it, and she tells him during their meeting at the library that she ought to aim for neutrality despite the dispute between classes, which is why the butterflies are there. I haven't read or heard much about her in the light novel, but they should have a good relationship up until now. Arisu is the third person because she will develop a much deeper connection with Ayano throughout the time later, as she is one of those who know of his past. She is seen with only one butterfly being much off-frame as she is confident and feels convenient as Class A leader, so she doesn't see the need to thrive more. Ichinose is seen even closer to the camera, representing her association with Ayano, diplomatically as Class B and D, as both classes are always cooperative toward each others. And even personally, in the light novel it's obvious that she has a crush on him. Regarding no butterfly on the frame, I'll invert that she is indeed a mysterious figure in the anime. Despite her pacifist and kind nature, her goal is yet to be known as mentioned by Ayano somewhere in the anime. Kei is the only one with two different frames, both having no butterfly in the frame since her only motivation is probably to bury away her old self. We don't get much about her in the first season, but the zoom on her eyes possibly indicates the bond she builds with Ayano throughout this season, which is being shown more and more later. I really love the background color they put on each of them here, each matching their personality and theme in the show. Moving to the logo bunching, as a dice here correlates to the theme of this series in general. Dice represents luck and chance. It shows us that in this school, it's all about probability. It can also refer to the fate of someone in particular. For me, it rings a bell when Kei puts her fate on the line and by a chance, Ayano comes and saves her. The maze with red beam portrays Ayano's mind and strategies for the complications throughout the season, as the red beam quickly passes through the maze with great accuracy, illustrating Ayano's plan of action in mind, which is represented by two brains seemingly connected by the red line, even against the hardest obstacle possible. This is meant to show that doesn't matter how complex a problem can be, just like this maze, it's a chess play for him. Eventually it fades away as the red line becomes straight, greatly hinting that he gets things done swiftly, removing all the matter smoothly. Such a lit imagery if you ask me. Next, Ayano is split into two sides, contrasting each other in terms of colors. Black and white here obviously symbolize the actual Ayanokoji and the facade he possesses. The two sides split into respective corners, and it probably means that he no longer needs to hide their real persona at one point, which is to Kei at the end of the season. To be precise, he starts being more open to her. Furthermore, there is Sakayanagi surprisingly knows of his past, making his real intention doesn't seem to be a secret anymore. The image is then getting squashed, meaning that a certain faction is trying to get rid of him, pushing him to his limits. But then they fail, which is shown by how the squash frame goes back to a normal ratio, hinting that so far, Ayanokoji is indeed unbreakable. Manabu is walking with seemingly a lot of people following him behind, represented by the color blue and light red, which symbolize males and females. It signifies the sense we believe revolve around him, that they are all respecting him as a figure in the school. They are his followers in this frame. It's noticeable that his eyes are glowing, and the contrast with the surrounding emphasizes even more that the person is unordinary. In this case, it's that Manabu is special. He has exceptional wits and abilities both physically and mentally, which is directly and indirectly shown throughout the series. Him sitting on the top with a sword symbolizes his throne. He obtains that from the other's acknowledgement, which is why the visual is him sitting on those blue and red people or whatever at a high altitude. The sword represents his power, authority, and strength generally. Ayanokoji meets the kid version of him. They stare at each other with his current self wearing a bear suit. This can imply his attempt to stay undercover as much as possible. A bear suit mainly gives the Nakshi sense, a perfect one as he wants himself to seem harmless from the outside, and eventually gets beaten by his past self. It's mentioned everywhere before that Ayano had his prime time when he was in the White Room, and this small version of himself should be referring to that past self during his prime time. Now that would make much more sense here, as the stronger past version of himself beats the current one, showing the difference in strength. Last frame of this dualism section is Ayano looking down on the same version of his past self. This pictures how he thinks about his past self so well. He sees himself that he was nothing more than a tool of the White Room, despite every gaining he got thanks to the way the White Room teaches their students. This is proved even further when he meets his father in the anime later. In the light novel, he talks about wishing to prove that White Room's method is a mistake. It is EV, but the Go board game here refers to the game that originated in China. With the objective of surrounding the enemy's territory to win, it should revert to Ayano's strategy of playing throughout the season, while putting the act of a somewhat lame and foolish person hands toward Baccarat here. Now we have Kushida facing up front and slowly turning back while the camera gradually zooms in with the focus on her face. Then there are colors added here. The variety of color choices along with the round-shaped kanji emphasize her cheerful and supportive persona, only to be replaced shortly with the clown mask symbolizing all the positive actions are all fake. They're just facade that she makes up, thus making her a clown just like everybody says. This is further built up by the cracked glass reflecting a compilation of her faces on it. The legs are definitely Kushida's. The opening really wants to reveal deeper about her. As the zoom focuses on her, it can be inferred that she really has something undercover, and that is her real image. She is walking forward that way, going towards something or someone which directly relates to the next scene. Ryuen sitting on the throne with his loyalists symbolizes his power and authority as the villain this season. Now it's clearly obvious that the one Kushida is going towards in the previous frame is them. I also noticed that the three of them are facing towards the middle part of the camera and only Ibuki is facing the other way. This reverses to the deal they make this season. Meanwhile, Ibuki doesn't really care about the ambition to win with violence or oppression, hence why not facing the exact same direction as the other three, yet still stay with Ryuen's gang for whatever reason there is. The scene then zooms into Ryuen's face with the red effect. This truly bolds his character as a cruel villain. Another fake scene, but it should be from Ryuen's perspective. In this season, he can't seem to portray Ayano as the culprit who ruins his plan. The identity of the mastermind, or X, is kept absolutely hidden and safe from his reach, represented by Ayano's face twisting as if he is the one witnessing that. The stickman running on top of the school reminds me of a chase. This indicates the cat and mouse happening in this season, whereas Ryuen's and his gang are chasing Ayano. They all just keep running around in circles, as Ayano is always steps further in everything, making them move on his own accord. The phones with the nearest one showing 0 points should be related to the group exam on board, where it's pretty much phone orientated, as every piece of information is shared via email from the school. I have no further idea about this, so leave your thoughts down below if you do have any. The light transition dips to another scene, which shows the same girls in sequence as at the beginning, but this time Ichinose is missing, hinting that something would happen to her. As most of us are aware by now, in the light novel she kinda gets rejected by Ayanokoji, and this is probably starting a rift in their relationship, hence why she is removed from the sequence here. In the last scene, Ayanokoji is meeting his father, presumably on the rooftop. His father is facing him along with a few men who are likely his bodyguards, while Ayano is accompanied by the chairman. This hints at their disagreement with each other. It's also safe to assume that the chairman is objectively on his side, judging by the position he is standing at. All of these are proved correct in episode 10 when they both meet. The beat following the next scene is in harmony until Ayanokoji is shown with a mask, though this one seems different from the other types of a facade in this opening. Ayano throughout the series tries to mask himself by wearing this facade, the mask. It implies his true identity instead, whereas he shows it to his father. The mask seems to represent power and potential, which is what he truly is, a monster. And so the opening ends. A lot of things here are made attentively. Its catches and symbolisms deserve appreciation. It's Utsarian. Until next time.